Hello and welcome to the Paperstac Podcast. I am Brett Burky. This is Rick Allen, and we're back for another episode of the Paperstac Podcast.
Yes, hope you've been enjoying the content so far. We will have interviews coming up in the near future. People seem to like those, so we're not babbling. But today, we are going to go over the best tips for sellers to sell your assets on Paperstac. So what little insider tips can we give you to help you sell your assets to make them more marketable, to make your listings look better?
Yeah. So do you want me to start with some and then
Sure.
you chime in? I mean, I'm going to start with photos.
Yes. So photos are key, right?
Yeah, I mean, picture's worth 1,000 words.
If you have, people are going to want to know what's the asset look like. If you got a good looking asset, people are going to stop and look at it. They're going to check it out.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's current photos too.
Yeah.
And if you have photos of the interior, even better. But I would definitely encourage people to to have photos.
Mm-hmm. Definitely having pay history.
Yeah. So that would kind of fall under documentation, right?
Yeah, documentation.
Like, what's documentation? We got to have pay history, servicing notes, have the collateral file accessible. That's a big thing, to where it's like you don't have to put it there to where anybody can see it, but be ready to share it as soon as possible. And just have all your files organized and ready to go. So when somebody goes to look at an asset, they say, okay, boom, I like the way it looks. I saw the picture. It looks great. Let me dive in. They're probably gonna have some questions, but they're gonna say, hey, do you have pay history, servicing notes, collateral file?
Yes.
Current BPOs. If you have a current BPO, great. Older BPOs, okay. Title reports, good. So anything you have documentation that will give people as much information as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely key. I mean, some other things that are important is the seller comments. I mean, really, the less stuff you put in there, the more questions you'll have, because people will say the same things over and over again. Like, why are you selling? Stuff like that. They ask questions, and so if you can put that in the seller comments, like we have one guy on the site named Alex, and then his seller comments are like legit like this long. But the thing is, you see when most people actually start the transactions with him, they're right to it. They're not asking dumb questions. It's like he basically said he'll even if someone says something like, go read the seller comments.
So yeah, to that point, as a note buyer, you're always trying to put together the story, right? You're trying to do the due diligence and figure what's the story with the loan. Tell the story. Explain what's going on. Say, who's the borrower? This is what's going on. Have they been a good payer, bad payer? Did they fall behind? Why did they fall behind? Tell the story. Put it out there. The more information you can give, the more color you can give up front, the better. One of the nice things Alex does is like, look, here's not only about the story on this asset and the borrower, this is a story on me. This is a story on my company. So you understand who my company is and who you're doing business with. That just goes a long way. The more information you can provide people up front, the better off it is. Explanations on, hey, this is how things are going to work on the platform, or stuff like that. This is, I will provide out more due diligence upon request. That's huge. That's just, the more information you can give up front, the better.
Yeah.
I think a big one is understanding your pricing, right?
Okay, explain.
So, obviously, our basis into a deal, whatever you're into a deal for, is going to dictate your pricing. But understand the market. Understand what the pricing is. If you've got a loan that you own or finance or you bought and it's got a 3 or 4% interest rate, and you're trying to get par for it, there's not a massive incentive for somebody to pay you par for it. You're going to take a discount. Understand your pricing. Be competitive with your pricing.
That's a good. I didn't think about that one.
Well, it's good because a lot of times people are just they're like, look, I want the world. My baby's prettiest. Nobody wants to think their baby's ugly, and it might be a performing asset, but hey, a performing asset at 4% right now, I can get 4.5%, 5% in a money market account, right? And people are buying in notes and invest in notes because they want to have
a higher yield.
They want a higher yield. So to get a higher yield, there's only one thing to do. You got to take a discount up front. So just understand the asset you're selling and understand what the value of it is.
That makes total sense. Yeah, I think that's a lot of the good beginning.
Well, I got a good one.
What?
also engage the buyers. Be responsive. When they ask questions, answer them.
Yeah, that's funny.
It seems simple.
Yeah, but you're right.
You just got to engage. The guys who sell the most assets is because they're engaging the buyers when they request it. They're probably not the ones doing it. They probably have some of their team doing it.
Yeah.
But make a point. The faster you get back to people, when you got somebody on the hook, you want to keep them on the hook.
Yeah, no, I get it. Especially because the thing is, there's other assets for sale. So it's like, if that person sees and you get right back to them, and you can kind of get them into a conversation, and they can kind of get to a purchase sale agreement signing. And there might be a wonderful asset that pops up the next day, but maybe all their money's going to be tied up with you, so they got to miss out on this.
Yeah.
But it's because if you're responsive, I could see that.
Yeah, and so I think the last one would be like kind of your marketing strategy. Obviously, you have it on there. Part of that goes into having good seller descriptions and good pictures. Mm-hmm. That's all part of the marketing strategy, but also sharing the link to the listing and social media stuff, putting it out there to other people, right?
That's very true. So.
Facebook, whether it's, I don't know about TikTok, but maybe on X or Twitter, just use the other areas out there. Maybe you have an email list. Say, hey, I don't know if you're interested, I've got an asset for sale. Check it out. Here's a link to it. And it brings them right into Paperstac, and then you can run the transaction right through Paperstac, and we'll help facilitate it and everything like that. But at least that way, you're not just throwing it into one pond, you're using the other channels of social media out there, which is huge.
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, there's some more like cool advanced strategies I've learned over time. It's that, so here's one thing, if you do have a couple assets for sale and you want to consistently sell, you can just reach out to support and ask for Vanity URL. And what that is a pstack.co/your company. And then so when you share, it's not just this crazy long URL. It's actually just it's prettified to your name, and then also we have some people that will put it on their websites, and they'll it's like, hey, my notes for sale, and they click that and it goes. Some other little tips like that. If you have other assets for sale and you're talking with a buyer and they seem to be a consistent buyer, one thing that nobody does, but this is a great way to build your book of business, is say, hey, go set up a save search on my name on the for sale page, so that anytime that seller comes back with a new note, that buyer will be notified. So like when hey, let's just say Alex drops another note this Friday or something like that. Well, all the people, if he said that to, are like they get an immediate email. So just say, oh, they hit, and so it's like you're buying your buyer's list, building your buyer's list. That's another thing that is something that people don't do. Another thing is being able to add other notes to a transaction. So if you're a seller and you're trying to, let's say, move 10 notes and they're all under 5,000 or 6, if you can keep it under 25,000, you're paying the same exact fee. So you can kind of incentivize buyers. Hey, look, if you're looking to buy more than one note, well, I'll throw in another one and give you a discount.
Ask the question. I think it comes down to when you get a buyer, an active buyer, and you can tell when you're talking to them, like, hey, are you looking for other notes? Do you want? I have other notes for sale. I can put them on here, and we can include them in this transaction. If you get, a sale price of 4 or 5 assets over $100,000, you don't pay for escrow. Escrow's free, and it's different than if you're like, okay, well, yeah, we'll just start a separate transaction each time, and we're going to start a separate. If you've got, 4 notes at $30,000 a pop, and you sell them for 120 because you bundle them up into a pool, then you're not paying escrow. If you take those same 4 notes, and I'm telling you this because it's a good thing for our users. It doesn't do us any favors, but if you do 4 separate $30,000 transactions and you escrow, you're going to pay $250 per side per transaction. So there's $2,000 that's going into the company, which, hey, good for us, but there's a way to be more efficient as a seller. And I think another thing to do is, we talked about like responding to borrowers or to buyers. Whenever you get somebody on the hook and you're ready to move forward, run through the to-do items as quickly as you can, right? There's a lot of times where I see time is missed, like 3 or 4 or 5 days, because somebody's like, oh, am I supposed to be doing something? It's like, yeah, just follow the to-do items. And if you have a new buyer that you're working with on the platform, just let them know, hey, look, if your first time on the platform, because most of the time they'll say the Paperstac will walk you through the process. If you just pay attention to your to-do items, you'll know what to do. And if you have a question, reach out and hit that button at the bottom that'll contact support. You're being an advocate for us, but what you're also doing is you're making sure that your deals go along quicker. And time kills all deals. That's the one killer of deals is time. If something just drags on, it's got a more likely chance to not close. If you can stay on top of it, respond to your buyers, engage them, do your to-do list, help them through the process, you got a great chance of closing a transaction on Paperstac, and you'll have a repeat buyer on your hands if you've treated them right.
Yeah. That's a lot of the top ones. I got one secret one that's pretty people don't think about, but I didn't even think about this until kind of just dawned on it. Is that sometimes I'll have conversations with sellers that are a new seller. They're coming to the site, they got all their stuff ready to go, they're ready to list it, and they list it on Friday afternoon. And what happens is that saved search goes out one time at the beginning of that listing. So now Friday afternoon, I mean, I don't know what time zone, but it's even worse if you're out west and it's Friday afternoon. Like, if it's just, that hits somebody's inbox by Monday, a lot of times people just come into the office and just clear out just stuff.
It's buried.
It's buried, it's gone. So then you might have this awesome deal, but we got, thousands of people with saved searches and they might miss it, So I always say the best days to list for your note for sale is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Monday people are like just getting in, figuring it out. They're not.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Best days to list are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah, you can have everything ready to go.
That's super ninja there, as Brett would say.
Super ninja, yeah.
That's something that
everything's ready to go.
Yeah, so that's a good one, man. That's a really good one. That's a good insight for people. So look, accurate, clear documentation. You make sure you have that. Have good pricing. Have a good marketing strategy, and that kind of wraps up into the pictures, seller description, sharing it on different social media channels, engage the buyers, and then follow the to-do items. Use Paperstac's tools, and just rip through stuff, and you'll have a good experience. And those are kind of the tips for being an advanced seller on the platform.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Not much more else to say.
No, that's it. So, hey, we'll catch you on the next episode of the Paperstac Podcast. Rick Allen, Brett Burky signing off for today. See ya.